Now, before I get started, get a pen and paper out and write down the following. What's the purpose of a relationship? Okay, let's put that in a box for a second because we're going to dive into that a little bit more. I think one of the reasons why couples struggle in relationship might be that women tolerate emotional disconnect and men ignore emotional disconnect. Sit with that for a second. In fact, someone write that down. Women tolerate emotional disconnect and men ignore emotional disconnect. See, we've adopted this belief if we genuinely love each other, everything will work out. Like magic fairy dust solves all of our relationship problems. But you see, love is not necessarily the formula for a successful relationship. Love is the glue that keeps you together, no doubt. To some degree, it's the spice that makes you want to get up in the morning, but it is not. When I said glue, let me reframe that, okay? What I mean is a relationship has a lot more to do with structure than it does. And the glue let me reframe it. I'm going to retract it. I said glue, but I really meant the icing on the cake. That's what I meant, okay? Now, here's the challenge and why this topic is something I wanted to talk about is you ladies have been conditioned to believe that men are the leaders of the relationship. It begins with the notion of courting that a man must prove himself to you in the very beginning. Now, I think this conditioning is also throughout history is that when a man chose a woman to marry, he made a commitment to say, I'm going to take care of you. And to some degree, that trade-off was sex. I mean, if you think back hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, to some degree, physical intimacy was something after you made a commitment to someone. And that doesn't seem to exist today. In fact, now sex is free and companionship is free. I think casual relationships make up the majority of the non-married couples out in the dating marketplace. Let me repeat that. Casual relationships make up the bulk of the non-married relationships out there. So, in fact, I'm going to share something with you in a second, but I'm going to get to the bulk of this in just a minute because I think it's important to recognize for you women that you are the leaders of your love life. Don't give that job to somebody who may not be qualified for that job. You are the leader of your love life, not someone else. And again, I do believe, and this sounds a little bit judgmental, that women have been, or maybe projection, but women have been conditioned because to some degree, throughout history, women have been dependent upon men for survival from a financial perspective. And thankfully, that's not the case today. Now, when I say men make weak leaders in a relationship, I'm primarily talking about the over 45 crowd, those people that are in midlife. And I say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement. So most of my audience is between the ages of 42 and 69 for the most part. So let's dive into the three types of people actively dating today. If you've seen my chart before, please forgive it. And by the way, right down at the bottom, this is not a fact. It's merely an opinion. But I believe roughly 20% of the population of singles out there are what I call users. They seek short-term gain. They're love bombers. They're players. They're gold diggers. They only care about themselves. And while over here, I say, that 20% of the population are what I call grower builders. They seek long-term commitment. They are emotionally grown up. They have good relationship skills. They have their act together. Most everybody falls into this category of what I call spenders. And the reason why I call them spenders is that they will spend time with you, but they're not fully committed to you. They seek companionship, connection, and sex. They oftentimes lack direction, uncertainty. They're fearful, usually have a dysfunctional life, and you operate as a placeholder in their life and not someone that they're going to grow and build with. Remember, I started this conversation by saying, what's the purpose of a relationship? Again, we're going to get to that in a second. So, why do men make weak leaders in a relationship? Because some men are selfish, particularly in midlife. The older we get, the more set in our ways we become. Now, I'm including myself in this because it's true for you ladies, it's true for us men as well. The more we become set in our ways, we oftentimes become very selfish, very selfish. In fact, it's very difficult to invite someone in our lives if we have a very set routine and we are very grooved in that routine. Then it's difficult to exit out of that routine. But Jonathan, if we love each other, we can make things work. That's the narrative I hear from you ladies all the time. But Jonathan, I'm just supposed to sit in my feminine energy and let men lead. Well, again, men who are selfish will lead the relationship, but it's going to be on their terms. And oftentimes, remember how I started this conversation? Women tolerate emotional disconnect and men will ignore emotional disconnect. The more set in the ways a man is, the relationship is always on his terms, on his terms. And I'm going to give you some insight on how to actually pick better men in a moment, okay? Now, the next category of men are what I call clueless. Meaning they're just like you. They think love will solve everything. That's all you need to make it work. They're clueless. Now, here's the challenge with those men. Oftentimes, they struggle to fall in love with someone. They may genuinely care for someone, but to actually fall deeply in love with someone, those clueless men, those overly romantic type of men who fantasize relationship, they're clueless about the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship. And lastly, there are broken men out there. They are so wounded by their past that they are leaderless. These men can also look like they're selfish because they're myopic. They're so broken that they have no emotionally broken, please forgive me. Well, actually, to some degree, we have a significant percentage of men in midlife that are struggling financially to some degree to make their own needs met. And I'm not talking about deadbeats or something like that. I'm just saying it's part of the challenge we have here in the United States from a caretaking perspective, as many of us live solo and on our own, and it's very difficult unless you combine resources with someone. But what I'm particularly talking about are the emotionally broken men, those men who have been wounded from their past and they haven't done any personal development, self-help, spiritual work, or therapy to move past their wounds. By the way, there's nothing wrong with being wounded. We are all wounded to some degree. We all have childhood wounds and adult traumas that make up who we are today. It makes up our personality. It makes up our decision-making process. The question is, are you driven by your wounds? Are your wounds leading your life? Or are you actively working on healing your wounds to move past our judgments, our guilt, our shame, our comparisons of others, our negative beliefs, our limiting beliefs, and our negative patterns in our lives? I know, ladies, you all want that superior man that is so confident and he is driven and he is ambitious. What percentage of men outside of egoic-based men, okay? I'm talking about men who are truly driven by their ego, that are ultra successful, that they're ultra, ambitious. But those men oftentimes are selfish. I know you are attracted to that alpha man because he is the most attractive. By the way, they're oftentimes called bad boys too, okay? And I get the attraction to that. It is seductive, it's alluring. But oftentimes alpha type males make terrible partners in a relationship for what I'm about to share with you in a moment. Selfish, clueless, or broken men don't give any thought to the following. And remember how I started this conversation? What's the purpose of a relationship? So I want you to ask yourself, you meet someone. You meet them online, you meet them through some connection. There's a mutual attraction, there's a flirtation with them. In other words, you are going to embark on getting to know each other. I want to invite you to ask this question for yourself, but more importantly, to this person is, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we getting to know each other? Now, the pat answer for most people is, I want a relationship. They'll say things like, I want a relationship. By the way, the minute a man says, I want a relationship to a woman, it's almost like catnip, particularly with the dysfunctional marketplace out there, when especially men that say, let's take it slow. Not that not that doesn't have value, but it's going to take me a couple years to make a relationship decision. I don't want to take anything serious. I just want something casual in the beginning. But ultimately they'll say, I want a relationship. And you guys hear that and you go, oh, we're on the same page. But the thing is, you don't do is, what's the purpose of this relationship? Why are we doing this? Why do we want to be in relationship with each other? And again, remember I showed you the chart. We've been so indoctrinated into believing that companionship, connection, and sex is all you need, because if you love each other, it'll magically work out. But ultimately, what's the purpose of the relationship? And I'm going to tell you where people get strung up on this. By the way, I feel a little caustic right now, and please forgive me. I feel a little agitated, only because I just want to wake folks up. Hey, it's 11:11 right now. And when I say wake folks up, is I just want to invite consciousness. Let's move past the fairy tale. Let's move past the Disney story and really operate from a conscious, intentional space. You see, most men, when I say are clueless, they're ambivalent. They're naive, or as I said, broken. Because deep down, we all humans want connection with another human being. We want it, but we have weak skills to get there. So first, if you're going to embark in the dating marketplace, if you're going to put yourself out there, whether you're a man or woman watching this, I invite you to understand compatibility. I mean, really understand it. Now, I know this is difficult because literally for thousands of years, we have mated with our own tribe. Compatibility was almost not that significant because you were almost alike. Maybe you shared the same culture, you shared the same ethnicity, you shared the same political views, you shared the same religious or spiritual point of view. In other words, we were so much alike in the past that choosing a partnership back then was completely different than what we're experiencing here today, particularly here in the United States, because we are a melting pot of different ethnicities, cultures, socioeconomic status, values, political views. Oh my God. I mean, come on, let's look at it today, how much divide there is in political views and your ideologies. Finding that person you mesh with requires, if you have differences, you have to learn the next component to a successful relationship, which I'm going to share. But I want to understand compatibility, and where most people get tripped up in midlife is lifestyle compatibility, along with those values I talked about. You know, it fascinates me to witness couples that are doing long distance dating, which, it's all based on a bubble. It's all based on entertainment, romance, and physical connection most of the time. In fact, actually, let me rewind that for a second. Our current dating environment, when you're local, is all based on entertainment, romance, and physical connection. It fascinates me how few couples, when I interview someone who's gone through a breakup, one of the questions I ask is, are you really good friends with each other? Not from a codependent attachment place. I mean, are you really good friends with each other? And I'll tell you how many women look me in the eye during a coaching session and no, we're not that good of friends. It's because we've hyper-focused dating in an accelerated way to push, entertainment one another. We have to entertain each other. And men in particular are the ones who are supposed to do that, because we're supposed to pick and plan the dates and we're supposed to entertain you. We're supposed to climb to the highest room of the tallest tower. And yet, to some degree, there's an entitled group of women, hopefully not those who are watching this today, that expect that as a way to surrender to, and I use the word surrender, but to open up to a man. But by the way, that's a parlor trick. Anybody can do that. we're going to get into something in a second. So, understanding compatibility. But here's the thing, you're going to have differences. Couples are going to have radical differences with each other. Might be what time they go to bed. It might be their cleaning preferences. It might be their food preferences. Oh my God, living here in Southern California, I can't figure out if someone's a vegan, a vegetarian, a paleo, all the different food requirements. And by the way, I'm curious if it's the same where you live. Let me know by posting a comment. By the way, if any of this is resonating with you and you want to connect with me, if you just want to talk, there's a link below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Sometimes just brainstorming with someone can make a difference in your life. So I invite you to do that if you want to connect with me. So, understanding that we're going to have differences. And if you don't have this next skill, the skill that I'm about to share with you, your relationship is most likely going to be doomed. And you expect men to be the leaders in this aspect. I love it when I hear those feminine energy coaches, Jonathan, I just sit in my feminine energy and let the man lead. I'm like, really? I'm sorry. Number 2, I said understanding compatibility. Number 2, conflict resolution skills. Conflict resolution skills. What that means is the ability to listen to somebody else's point of view, accept that their point of view might be different. In other words, 2 people listening to each other's point of view when there are differences, accepting that point of view as being true for them, and working as a team to collaborate on how to solve it. Now, there are some instances where we have to agree to disagree. But the majority of people, when they have conflict in relationship, is I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm right and you're wrong. I'm going to tell you something, folks. If we can't resolve our conflicts and if we can't navigate our differences, it's going to be problematic in relationship. And one of the things about differences, as I talked about cleaning differences, food differences, just to name a few, is the ability to understand our differences. You see, this requires something I'm about to share with you in a second, but to understand that we are different. We are no longer aligned like it used to be. This is why, I don't subscribe to a lot of narratives that it's, God, man, woman type of narrative, okay? That it's the man that's the leader and container of a relationship. Because obviously, men are bad at it. Why do women initiate divorce at an 80% rate? It's because their men aren't good at this, but that doesn't mean you can't, hold space for something different. Excuse my slurping, and my coffee mug says, don't make me go all psycho roommate on you. I get so passionate. Number 3, a shared passion and purpose in your life, a shared passion and purpose. I started this conversation as what's the purpose? You have to, here's the thing. The reason why, and I said why men over 40, I didn't make the title why men over 45, but why this is for the over 45 crowd is in our 20s and 30s, our shared purpose is making babies and raising a family. It's all centered on creating that unit. And for midlife, we've got children, we've got baggage, we have luggage, we have different lifestyles. And like I said earlier, there are people, the older we get, the more set in the ways we are. I'm single and I live by myself and I have a routine and I like it. I don't know how much I want to deviate from that in relationship unless I meet someone where we can co-create something together. But again, a shared purpose. And this is where most midlife couples struggle, because they're just spending time with each other. They're just enjoying each other's company. They're being entertained, romance, and physical connection without a central purpose. I'm going to share my belief and purpose in a relationship, and you tell me if this resonates for you. But I think one of my highest values is someone who is in personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and therapy on a regular basis, because I believe the purpose of a relationship is to grow beyond our wounds, grow beyond our negative patterns, grow beyond our limiting beliefs, to grow past our judgments, our fears, our insecurities, our guilt, our shame. And I believe a partner can be a mirror for that, for two people to be a mirror for one another. So for me, that's my highest purpose, along with a connection to the divine, a connection on a spiritual level to something greater than ourselves. That to me is my purpose. You have to decide what the purpose of a relationship is for you. So the fourth ingredient needed, and I know, ladies, this is tough, but you guys aren't any better at this, is emotional IQ. Emotional IQ. I'll be candid with you. This is a knock on you ladies, but I talk to women and go, I work on myself. And then I find out that yoga and listening to podcasts is working on yourself. And yet you'll tolerate an unhealthy relationship. You'll stay with somebody who's clearly not on the same path with you. Working on yourself means making difficult choices. It's to push past your uncomfortable places. And folks, working on yourself is this. You see that duct tape on my mouth? Okay, the reason why I did that is many of you are silent to speaking up in a relationship, and you act like you're emotionally mature, and yet you don't speak up. You don't share your truth with a partner. By the way, if you haven't read my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, I invite you to read it, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Chapter 1 says, speak your truth. Do it with kindness. And chapter 9 says, if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. What I mean to say is, working on yourself means doing the uncomfortable things, examining why you operate the way you do, being self-reflective, looking inside and going, what are my blind spots? And by the way, men are, okay, you guys at least listen to podcasts. That's one step in the road. I know some of you do actually more than that, so I'll give you credit, but I'm going to tell you something. Listening to podcasts is a step in the right direction. Doing the heavy lifting, whether you're a man or woman, to be self-reflective, to be aware of your negative patterns, your limiting beliefs, and taking ownership in your life. Do you know what ends up happening in a lot of couples? It's his fault. It's her fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. And when you ask somebody about their past relationships, it's always the other person's fault. True reflection says, I got to take ownership in my part. And it's not merely accepting bad behavior. That's not ownership. There was parts of you that were not good for him either, or her either, for them, I should say. So you've got to own that part of where you fell short in the relationship, rather than just accepting bad behavior. That's not taking ownership. That's acting victim consciousness. So I want to lead you with this thought. This is why men make weak leaders, is because they're selfish, they're clueless, or they're broken. And yet there are good men out there that want a significant relationship. So ask yourself, ask him, ask her, why are we doing this? Are we here to grow and take care of each other? Write that down. Are we here to decide? Are we doing this to decide, are we going to grow and take care of each other? And folks, if you haven't come to that conclusion within 90 or at least 100, okay, I'm going to say within the first 30 days to the first 6 months, if you don't have a solid answer to that question, are we here to grow and take care of each other? If you don't right now, if you're in a relationship and you're well past that, then it's time. And listen, schedule a call with me. Folks, if you're in a relationship, if you're dating, if you need help, let's talk about this. Because if you're not asking yourself these questions and you're not asking him these questions, you're setting yourself up for a very disappointing ending at some point. But Jonathan, I'm just supposed to sit in my feminine energy because men are such good leaders of a relationship. I think you get where I'm talking about. I want to hear what you say about what I shared today. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, look, even if you just want to talk, schedule a discovery call with me. If you want to connect with me, because you can't afford coaching, check out my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Check out all the books I recommend. Check out my dating vows. And by the way, I should have mentioned the dating vows in this conversation. Before the penis ever goes inside the vagina, you better have this deep talk. In fact, let's add to that talk. What's the purpose of this relationship before you ever have sex with them? On my link below to get my dating vows. All right. It's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box somewhere over there. Write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. It's one of my favorite pictures of him. It's my son who passed away over 6 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. Our goal today is $50. And by the way, to start us off, Patty just gave us $10, $9.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Patty. We appreciate the love. Okay. Patty wants to share with us. She goes, I had a coffee meeting with a very nice man. He's not the type I would initially be attracted to, but I agreed to dinner. Maybe I should focus on compatibility and not physical attraction. Patty, I don't know how old you are, but here's the challenge for us in midlife. We don't look like we did in our 20s, 30s, or even 40s. So physical attraction shifts, as we age. We just don't carry, and to some degree, most of us aren't physically fit like we used to be. There are a lot of people that are. But you know what? What matters most is a person's character, their character. I had a client some years ago, had a first date with a guy, wasn't her type. He wasn't Mr. Big from Sex and the City, that suit and tie, Chris Noth, good looking guy. Oh, by the way, when I used to wear a suit and tie, I was oftentimes compared to him, or Chris Noth, maybe. Anyway, he wasn't that type. In fact, he had a struggling business. But you know what she found out on the first date? He gave a kidney to a total stranger. He was reading an article in the newspaper about a young girl that needed a kidney, and he just drove down to the hospital and said, here's mine. Who the fuck does that for a total stranger? I said, you know what? You give this guy a chance. By their fifth date, they were totally into each other, okay? He has character. By the way, he subsequently started a business where he now has 30 employees. It's in the construction field. And he takes care of her life, even though she was the bigwig. She made the money. She was the dominant from that perspective. And he's not beta. He's a good, solid guy. He gave a kidney to a stranger. Character matters. And so, what does character look like? Their actions match their words consistently. They are generous and kind. They communicate clearly without wanting to be right or having to be right. They don't use people. They are clear about commitment. They have their act together. They are emotionally and physically have self-control. They don't chase sex or drugs or alcohol or partying. I have a list here. They have healed from their past relationships, or at least healing from their past relationships. They're introspective and work on themselves to grow beyond their limitation, wounds, and traumas. They are protective and empathetic, meaning they care about their partner's feelings. They believe demonstrating trust is paramount to life. And trust isn't just about fidelity. Trust is, do you have my best interest at heart? Are your best interest my best interest? So you may not know this yet, Patty, but I would give this guy a chance if he seems like a good guy. You've come back and said, I'm changing my mindset to enter the dating world with the notion of actually liking someone. I can't ever remember being in a relationship with someone that I liked outside of physical intimacy. It's interesting that lust bug fucking clouds our judgment. I've got to tell you something. Chemistry clouds judgment, but you know what it also clouds? And when I say judgment, it clouds our capacity to get to know someone at a heart-centered level. I get that. I'm guilty of that. Am I really friends with this person? And to me, you know what friendship is? Friendship is, can I talk to this person? Can I open up to this person? That's to me like I look at my closest friends. My dearest friend is, I'm going to share something personal with you. By the way, before I share this about Tammy, I want to share with you, as much as I know I'm billed as a dating and relationship coach, but you know what I really am? I'm a person that I'm really a person through the dating and relationship conversation, encourages personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and therapy to heal, because we have relationships trigger our shit like nobody's business. Relationships trigger our wound of not being good enough, not being lovable, not being likable. Relationships trigger that stuff like nobody's business. So, I'm here to just encourage that. And you know what I realize I've been good at lately? I've been getting a lot of new clients that just want support, holding space, and being reflective, just simply holding space and being reflective. I'm not here to teach you the techniques what's the 5 text messages to send to a guy who just, ended the relationship or that sort of thing. I'm not here to sell you on that. I'm not here to teach you these techniques. I'm here to be, a witness to your experience and to hold your hand as a big brother. Look, if I could be there on a first date, I would. I'd have the shotgun at hand, point at the guy's face, and what's your intentions with my little sister? And I would call them out on bad behavior, hopefully knowing that there's a consequence to their bad behavior. Anyway, I want to tell you the story about Tammy, and I'm sharing this with you because, there's this criticism that men can't be friends with women. So 20 years ago next month, I believe, I met a woman online. Now, we had a mutual friend. So we had this connection. We had a first date, but it wasn't a love connection. But what was interesting is because we had this mutual friend, we started to hang out together. By the way, I'm going to interrupt for a second. If anyone wants to join the Love Seat, I just post a link right now. If you want to talk to me directly, this would be a fun chance to just let's connect with each other. Somebody click that button. It'd be fun to connect with someone right now, whether Patty, Lori, or Debbie. Okay, so coming back to Tammy. So what ended up happening, because we had a mutual friend, we hung out as a group together for a little while, and she and I were talking about, how's dating going for you? Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. How's dating going for you? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then she began dating a guy, and it was like, she'd tell me all about him, and I was dating someone. I'd tell her all about her, and we just shared, our war stories with each other over the years. And it developed into something very special. Now, because of my coaching practice, and because she had done so much, she did therapy for years, she did on-site, she's done programs, that she's actually become a really good confidant for me, that I could talk about my stuff, and she calls me out on my shit. See, that's what we all need, is a good confidant in our life to call us out on our shit. And over the years, we call each other out on our shit. We hold each other's hands. She was there for me when my son passed away. I was there for her through her father's passing and some of her emotional stuff throughout her relationships. And we speak on a regular basis. Now, and we go through times where we don't speak to one another. We've both been in relationship with people. We've introduced ourselves to the other people in our lives. So we've been transparent, but it's non-romantic. Why am I sharing this with you? Because we all need a good confidant in our lives. So anyway, do you have a confidant in your life that's the opposite sex, someone you can count on, someone that you can talk to about your stuff? Hey, I'd like to hear about that. Post it. All right, if you have a question for me, look, hey, listen, I see that we got a lot of people on. There's a little chat box. Write something down. Give me some fodder to talk about right now. I think I shared in this conversation Women have been conditioned to accept men as the leaders of the relationship. And I think the challenge with that is that you give your power away to a man when they are the leader of the relationship. The relationship is oftentimes his terms. And the older a man gets, the more set in his ways he can become. As I shared earlier, oftentimes when you give your power away, you don't speak your truth in relationship. You don't speak your truth with him. About a week or two ago, I had a client reach out to me. And she needed to have a very difficult conversation with the man she's with because she's reevaluating whether she wants to be in a relationship with him. And the minute she opened her heart to him, he started to open up. Ladies, if you start opening your heart by making requests to what you want, if they're not capable of meeting it, either you end the relationship. Because look at, men will stay in relationships if you feed them, if you fuck them, if you fuel their ego, if you have fun. Okay, men aren't going anywhere. But a lot of times, all it is some base companionship, and there's a not real heart-centered connection. But men, by the way, even if it's not fun, they'll nest in a relationship. Even if they're not getting regular sex, they'll nest in a relationship. Because men are lazy. A lot of men are lazy. They're not builders and growers. They are broke. There are a lot of broken men out there that will just accept some base companionship, some base connection with very little capacity to lean in, to grow into the relationship. All right, I noticed some more people coming on live. If you want to join the hot seat, the love seat, click that link. Patty's come back in. And she said, my generation was groomed to allow the man to make the decisions. It's hard to ditch that at 65. I get that. We've been so conditioned throughout history, but if men were such good leaders of relationships, then why do first marriages end at a 50% rate and second and third marriages end at a 65 to 75% rate? If they are such, now I know the red pill community will blame it all on feminism, that feminism and women's empowerment is why relationships struggle, but that's not the real issue. By the way, a woman's empowerment is good for a man. A woman who is empowered in her life is good for a man. A woman who has boundaries and standards is actually good for a man. Men need that. What's interesting is I look back to my parents' relationship. My parents were married for 66 years. I got to tell you this quick story, okay? Because this goes back to what you said, Patty, and my parents are of that generation, okay? So I one night, my parents were having a dinner party with a group of friends, collectively 150 years of marriage between these three couples, okay? And I come to my parents' house one day to say hi, and I see these couples that I've known since I've been a baby. And I asked them, I go, what's the secret to relationship success? And the first couple says the secret to relationship success is marrying your best friend. And the couple were sitting next to each other, and they both said the same thing, marrying your best friend. And I asked the next couple, what's the secret to relationship success? And, I remember the wife, her name is Ezel, said, never going to bed mad, never going to bed mad. In other words, we resolve everything before we go to bed. And I'm like, that's great. And my mother and father were sitting at the ends of the dinner table. And I asked my dad, what's the secret to relationship success? And he says, me being in charge of the relationship. And then I turned to my mom and I said, what's the secret to relationship success? And you know what she said? Having your father believe he's in charge of the relationship. I swear to God, just like the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and my parents are Turkish, they were Greek. I think there's a scene where the matriarch in the movie she says, the man is the head of the relationship, but the woman is the neck of the relationship. I will tell you, women can wield so much power if they know how to direct the relationship and giving the man the belief that he is the leader of the relationship. But I'm going to tell you something, ladies, women are the heart of a relationship. It is incumbent upon you, because most men struggle getting to their heart. They're just not good at it. They don't know how to open up. That is where you can come in. And the heart is not the penis in the vagina. The heart is that emotional connection. If you haven't read the book, If the Buddha Dated, this is a deep dive into recognizing that our bullshit gender rhetoric is why we're struggling in relationship. And this is about getting to the heart of a romantic relationship. So I invite you all to check that out. Okay. All right. Let's see. And by the way, there's a link below to get all the books I recommend. I had confident male. I had a confident male and I kept it not as a secret, but a person I could talk to hold my husband a bit about it. And I told my husband a bit about it, but then he got jealous because he got social anxiety and couldn't relate. You know, men are territorial. So to some degree, the minute you're talking to another man, there's this belief. A man who isn't solid in his sovereignty, who isn't grounded in his personhood, will oftentimes see men as a threat. But you most likely cultivated that relationship over a long period of time. It was somebody you could talk to about the relationship. And I recognize that your husband struggles with it because he's probably not grounded in his, I'm going to use the word masculinity, but it's not grounded in his personhood. And what you have to do is invite that other man into, I mean, this is a suggestion, it's not an absolute, but to invite that man into the life of you guys and incorporate him, because I will tell you, if he sees that your friend is sincere, it might help project your relationship to a stronger place. That's just at least a suggestion. Likelihood it's going to be very difficult. All right, if you have a question, come on, I need some fodder, folks. Write the word question, then post the question after. Ask me a personal question, you know. It's interesting. Many of you, oh, here we go. I got this text on March 3rd this year. So folks, at the time I'm recording this was about a month and a half ago. I have more than enough to keep me busy in my life. I have no time or energy for any woman. Live in peace. I'm done. What do you think, Jonathan? Well, I think he's clearly saying I'm not interested in a relationship. I have more than enough to keep me busy. I am happy with just using you for occasional companionship, occasional connection, occasional sex. I'm happy to use you on my terms, but I have no real interest in co-creating a relationship with you. I have no relation, because I have no fucking, this is him talking. This is his mind talking. I have no fucking clue about the purpose of relationship. All I care about is my own needs. And I'm going to operate from my own way because I'm set in my ways and I don't give a shit about you. I don't care about you. I just want you for occasional companionship, occasional sex, occasional connection. That's what I think is his subconscious saying to him, not from a cruel or inhuman way, but that's the way he's operating. You know what I'd say? Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. Live in peace. I'm done. Wow. What a fucking asshole. You know, anyway, Terry, tell me how what I just shared, how did you respond to that? How did what I shared, how does that land for you? Actually, Terry, do me a favor. Let's just jump on this, on the love seat. Let's talk about this. I just posted a link right there. Terry, I want to share with you. Somebody who does that is not a very nice person. I have more than enough to keep me busy in my life. It's like, I only care about myself. I'm assuming you were physically, please, Terry, join me. This is really something everybody can grow from. Everybody can learn from this. So let's have a dialogue about this. I just posted a link. All you have to do is click on it and then set your phone down. And if you're on your phone, unless you're on a laptop, if you're on your computer, pull up your phone. Okay. Because what you just shared, I have no time or energy for any woman. Well, what was the purpose of your, why did he even want you to begin with? Was it this? Was he focused on getting an ejaculation inside a woman? He probably couldn't ejaculate anyway. Probably had to do a gorilla grip masturbating. And I'm being tongue in cheek here because that's fucked. You know what I would do? If I was your big brother, I'd go, fuck you, asshole. This was my sister. Is this how you treat people? That's just kind of fucked. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit protective, so please forgive me, okay? Does anyone have a comment on what I just shared about Terry? Let's get a dialogue going here. Arlen is in the house. My boyfriend and I were good at revealing our feelings to each other. He got some big stressors in his life. I was there to help, but his stressors seemed to be the reason he left. You know, it's difficult to be in a relationship when you've got a lot of stuff going on in your life, stressor, because we don't feel like we have much to give in a relationship. You see, unlike people that get married and they say, I'm here to take care of you, and you were there to support him, Arlen. You were there to emotionally support him. But understand that when we're going through our stuff, it's hard to feel like we have much in our love cup to give to another person. And if we don't have much in our love cup to give, we can feel like takers in a relationship. And so we leave because we're afraid to dive into the real purpose of a relationship is to grow past our fears, our insecurities, our negative beliefs, our limiting, our judgments, to grow past that. But more importantly, to build deep roots of trust so you can be there for one another. Again, most relationships today are casual. And this conversation, this is why men make weak leaders in a relationship, is because they don't understand the purpose of a relationship. It's to take care of one another and to grow together. Can someone write that down? And so I'm sorry that happened. And it sounded like you built a good emotional connection. You know, here's the problem with revealing feelings. Revealing problems is not really, you know, a lot of people bond through their mutual trauma with one another. And that seems like, oh, Angel's singing, he's sharing his problems with me. He's so emotionally acute. That's what a lot of you ladies do. Okay. Wait, Terry says, I'm so happy I text. Oh, you got to explain that one because that doesn't make sense. Melissa wants to go back to Terry and say, I agree, this guy is a user. Sabina says many men like that on dating apps. Exactly. Pauline wants to confirm what I said to you, Terry. My sentiments exactly. Thank you so much. Okay. Emily is in the house. Question. I've expressed my suspicions that my man is too close with his friend's wife. This week, he says he's going to sell his home and move into the couple's basement. Are my suspicions correct? You know, I would need a little bit more data on that. I mean, why is he selling his home, which is an asset? Does he need the funds from the home? You know, first off, he's your boyfriend and this is a married couple. I'm assuming you socialize with this couple. You know, so I mean, I'd be curious to know what reason he is giving you to do this. Is there a possible subtext that there's a sexual attraction for his friend's wife? Absolutely. There's that possibility. Are they currently having an affair? It's absolutely possible, unfortunately. But given what you shared, I'd be curious to hear what is his reason that he's telling you why he's doing it. I'd like to know that before I fully answer that question. But thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Let's go. Ronette goes back to Terry. Wow, you shared about Terry. I have experienced in life. Yes, fudge that guy. Fuck that guy. Some people don't like the F word. RM Bells wants to say it's a borderline abusive text. I think it's a passive aggressive text. Oh my God, not too long ago, I did send a passive aggressive text. Sometimes we can be so in our shit that we can be unconscious and we're in our own myopic silo. And I'm guilty of this. By the way, the minute I read it back and she called me out on it, I'm like, oh shit. Wow, that was passive aggressive, because I can recognize that I can be human and make mistakes, but I'm also going to own my shit, take responsibility. But you have to be able to see it to take responsibility. All right, Patty's back in the house. Question. I had a situationship with a man 13 years younger. He stepped away back after a while. I reminded him that it takes a few minutes to text. He accused me of being dramatic. Do you agree? You know, in a way, you know, when you remind him it takes a few minutes to text, you're being parental in that moment. And in his mind, you're being parental in that moment. Instead of saying something like, you know what, you know, I need to feel connected on a more frequent basis when we're apart. And I make a simple request that, you know, can we communicate with each other when we're apart through text, just to let each other know that we're connected with one another? Because, you know, unlike the past when people used to get married, you know, before they had sex and they were living with each other, now because we live in two different homes, I don't feel 100% safe all the time because we're not in an all-in relationship. So I'm making a simple request that make a simple request that we stay connected. But he said you're being dramatic because you framed it not in the most healthy way, but he's also not taking ownership of you guys. I get, my guess is, Patty, you're in a casual, or you were in a casual. Oh, you said you had a situationship. Oh my God, why didn't I read that again? Situationships are just friends with benefits. That's all it is. You're being dramatic is right. It's a situationship. It's a friends with benefits, effectively. You were in a casual relationship. He doesn't have any responsibility to text you. I'm sorry. I read that and then I glossed over the most important piece. You're with a younger guy that's friends with benefits. Texting can be a nuisance. Okay, I'd like to hear what you have to say on that. All right, Terry is brave enough. Terry is brave enough to join us.
The most important piece. You're with
I need you to turn off the volume, Terry, to whatever's playing. Oh, there it's gone. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, I want to repeat the question for everybody. So for those watching right now who just joined us, Terry posted a question. I got this text on March 3rd of this year. I have more than enough to keep me busy in my life. I have no time or energy for any woman. Live in peace. I'm done. What do you think? So we just had a chat about this, but let's dive into it again. Talk to me. How did that feel when you got that text message?
He did it before, and I waited 2 years to try to see him again.
Okay.
And we had oral sex.
Okay.
And because he can't get it up, but he's had a prostate problem, so I understand that. But
yeah. Are you waiting for me? You there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I need to turn down the TV, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, and I did it, and so he said I text him that he needed to quit canceling if we wanted to become friends and lovers, and he texts back and said, you were putting way too much into meeting me again this second time.
Okay.
and then I texted him back and I said, I didn't say anything about a relationship, but I did want a relationship. But I'm really glad that I'm messaging you, because I need to quit thinking about him.
Mm.
I need to quit thinking about him. We have a lot in common, but I'm not that rude. I told him that I just was kind of looking for someone to talk dirty to and mess around with, and that. And then I got that text.
So, and let me be clear, Terry, you were just looking for someone to mess around with, to flirt with, that's what you were looking for, or that's what he was looking for?
No, I just wanted to be playful and fun, and hopefully it would turn into a relationship. Because when I'm with him, he just tells me I'm beautiful, um and he's like, don't listen to me when I say those things. I'm just a confused old man.
Okay. So, but let's be clear. You led with, I just want to play. I just want to have fun. I just led with, I want, there's no substance to what we're doing. It's just purely for pleasure. So, I mean, to some degree, you went into it from an egoic place of, hey, this is about entertaining one another, both physically and flirting with each other. That was the entry point you went in, but you had an ulterior motive that was going on. But I want a relationship. Okay. But I want a relationship. But you led, I want clarity. I'm asking this based on what you just said. You went in for superficial reasons, but you had a ulterior motive of something deeper beyond that. Am I clarifying?
You're correct.
Okay. So let me ask you, so we both agree that you went into this for superficial reasons. Does that land with you? Well, let me give you an alternate example.
Okay.
I'm talking about another, let's just pretend we're hearing this conversation, and there's this man who's talking about this woman. And the man says, yeah, I only cared about the sex. I really only went in for the superficial reasons. I knew she wanted a serious relationship, but I knew I would be using her. Like, how would that feel, hearing that about a man doing that? I'm just curious.
It hurts. It hurts. It doesn't seem like it was what I expected. It seemed like it was different.
We're talking about another couple. But I know we're talking about somebody else. I'm just saying, if a guy said, yeah, I just want to have fun. Yeah, I just want to play and have sex. I'm just entering for that reason. It's not a healthy reason to enter into a relationship. And look what happened to you. You bonded with him. Your question to me is, why can't I get him out of my mind? Because you bonded with him. You made an investment in this from I'm calling it superficial. Okay. I'm just using it from a egoic place. You went in from that, but you had an ulterior motive. Maybe if I do it this way, if I just tease him enough this way, he'll come and want a relationship with me. That's a very naive, 18-year-old girl way of looking at things. Please forgive me.
Maybe, yes, and I am a little inexperienced. What's the inexperienced with having a relationship? I haven't had one for 25 years.
How old were you when you had your first? Were you ever married?
I was married twice.
Okay, so you've been in relationship before. Are you saying that you haven't had a relationship in the last 25 years?
Right. I've just been busy with family and work. And
have you had any sex in the last 25 years?
No,
so
I haven't.
2 years ago, you had sex. You started this little play party with him. which I think you said was oral sex. And then he gave you a message of like my way or the highway 2 years ago, right?
Yes, about the same message.
Okay. So it's interesting. So how did the two of you reconnect again?
I sent him a picture of my baptism and he started texting me back.
Okay. So you opened the door for conversation.
Yes.
Why did
I didn't
you do
say
that? Wait,
anything.
why
I
did-
just I
did you
did
do
it because I just couldn't get him off my mind and I just wanted to see if it would go anywhere this time. And it didn't. And
By
I
the way,
need to get
so
over
when you-
it.
all right,
I'm a very independent woman, so
okay, so we'll get to how to get over it. Okay, so let's just rewind this for a second. So you sent him a baptism picture. And then he responded back. How long ago was that? Just so I can get some context here.
right before Valentine's Day.
Okay, so for everyone watching, it's April 26th today. We are talking about 2 months ago. You initiated a contact with him. And then did you guys physically meet after that contact 2 months ago?
Yes, on Valentine's Day.
Okay, you met on Valentine's Day. Did you guys get physically intimate with each other?
Not that day.
Okay. And did you start seeing each other?
Yes, he would ask me over.
Okay, so you would come over, what, Netflix and chill, or would it just be glass of wine and sex? I mean, what was happening?
No, we both did not drink, but
Okay.
we would just talk about like our childhood and things like that. He would share some personal things with me.
Okay.
And so I felt, he shared with me about his prostate and shared with me about some stories about him and his friends as a child.
Okay.
He does, what I think it is that his dad wasn't ever around, like ever.
Okay.
And there were 4 boys in the family. And so I think he has abandonment issues.
Okay.
But and I'm a social worker.
Okay.
And so I know a little bit about things, and so I know it'd be like crazy to show up at his house again and all that. I just am like crazy thinking about him. It seems to be me watching your show has helped diminishing it.
Okay.
So,
okay, well, let's do this way. Okay, so just so I get some context. So you guys hung out for a bit, for a month. Well, actually not even a month, because it was Valentine's Day was, I believe it's February 14th. And on May 3rd, he sends you this text message. So that's effectively 17 days later, he sends you this text message. Correct?
yes.
Okay. What happened? Why do you think he sent you that text message?
Personally, I think that from all the avoidant things that I've watched, I think he sent it to me because I said what I said, and what happened was I left the pair.
When you said I said what I said, what did you say?
Oh, I said what I said to him about what I told you just a little while ago. What was that? I said that I just wanted to fuck around with him and be playful. And I And then he said that he did say he didn't want to have a relationship too in a text before that. And that he was going out with friends and to a dinner and movies. And my brother said to me, he said, I think it bothers you that he's going out to with friends to a dinner and movie and he's not going out with you. And I said, no, not really. I don't mind if he has friends. I am glad that he has friends.
So I'm still don't have an answer from you.
Okay, ask me again.
What was the impetus? In other words, okay, forget his childhood wound, his abandonment. Why something triggered him to send that message? So were you intimating you wanted a relationship with him? Did you say anything prior that would have triggered him to say, I'm done with this?
No, I never mentioned relationship.
Okay.
I left a pair of earrings there.
Okay.
And he said, I've been around the block. I know what that means. And it kind of made me feel like a slut. So I said, I don't give two fucks about the earrings. I care about you. And
okay.
I think that's like not like me to be blurting out something like that about I don't give two fucks about the earrings. I think that kind of like that set it off just about the earrings.
Okay.
And so
oh, and by the way, Melissa makes a comment. I wonder if he's intimidated sexually because of his impotence.
Because it is right after sex each time that the next day he puts out those texts.
Okay, so there's come close, push away, come close, push away, but really not even come close. It's you come close to him, you connect, he pushes you away. You connect with him, you get together, you push away. That's been kind of your pattern with him. Is that fairly accurate?
Yes, twice.
Okay. So your question, I want to come back to your question. How do I get over this? So you're a social worker. If a client came to you with this exact same story, what would you tell a client? You're a social worker. I'd like to hear how you'd navigate this.
What would I tell him or the client?
You have a female client. Okay. She comes to you and tells you that this, we're going to say your clone came to you for advice. Okay. It's the exact same story and you're a social worker. What would you tell a client? How do I get over, what would you tell them? How do I get over it?
I want to tell them what I want to do. I want to,
no. This isn't you talking to him.
I want to tell the client. I want to tell the client that maybe to get over him, you need to go see him one more time and have him say those things to your face. And that should end it for you. But that's like after hearing the whole thing.
Is that, you know what? That's you projecting to your client. Would you really tell that to a client? I'm sorry, I got to call. That's your projection going, I need closure. So would you really tell a client that? That's how you'd get over it?
No, that's just what I want to tell myself.
Yeah, so now I'm asking you to dig deep. I'm a customer.
Okay.
I'm a customer. I'm paying you good money for advice, okay? I'm paying you good money for advice. Terry, I'm still hung up on my previous relationship. I can't stop thinking about her. I need some help. How can I get over this person? Help me.
You need to, I would tell them you need to walk away, put up your boundaries.
They left me. They've already left me. We don't talk to one another. They've already discounted me. But I'm still, all I can do is think about her. I can't get her out of my mind. I need help, Terry. Tell me how to get over this.
I want to say keep working on yourself and doing things, um, going out in public and going to the gym. I know I'm not talking like to a client because it's hard for me.
But you know,
But
we have the answers within ourselves. Okay. You already have the answer within yourself. You were just sharing it with me, some of the things you can do, but ultimately you're going to have to make the big choice of like, is to let him go on an emotional level, let him go from just even being in your orbit. That requires really tough work. Do you know how a muscle is built? You know how muscles are built? You have to break it down to build new muscles. And so you have to do the heavy lifting emotionally and saying, and you know, you could start doing meditations to let them go. You can type into YouTube, how to let someone go. I'm not, by the way, the reason why, look at Terry, I've been in your space. If you followed me long enough to know, a couple of years ago, I was in a significant relationship. Now we lived together. We were fully entrenched in each other's lives. I was genuinely in love with this person. Okay. I didn't go in as a play party like you did. Okay. And when that relationship ended, it deeply hurt. It deeply hurt. Okay. The first thing I had to do was accept that it's over. And I had to accept that if it's not right for one person, it's not right for both. So the grieving process is, have you ever seen, like, it's a death, if you will. So we have to look at from that vantage point. You know, first we deny it, we bargain it. But, you know, ultimately getting to a place of acceptance and then coming to a place of gratitude. So I'm going to give you 4 questions to ask yourself. And by the way, you can come back and rewind this and, you know, write them down. Somebody please write them down for me in the chat box or in the comment section. So the first question I'm going to invite you to ask is, ask yourself, what positive things about myself did I learn in this relationship? Now, part of that is taking ownership that you went in for egoic reasons, for pleasure-based reasons. You didn't go in from a place of consciousness, of growth, other than, yeah, you kind of had a little bit of a friendship there. But you, even your own words said, I went in based on physical connection. You got to take ownership of that. Okay. Now, the second thing is, and this is a brief relationship, you might want to ask yourself, has any of this experience helped me heal from a childhood wound? We talked about his childhood wounds. What about your childhood wounds or traumas in your life, your adult traumas that caused you to accept this kind of dynamic? I invite you to be introspective here and go inward and do some work. And then you can look at what was the third question is, what was good about this experience? Now, I don't mean from the egoic place, you know, yeah, it was nice to flirt and all that kind of stuff, but was, you know, look at what's good. And honestly, the last question is, what am I most grateful for? He came in your life for one reason. I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay. I'm just going to give it to you. He came in your life so you could have this conversation. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you what I think you should do. This is, you know, the world according to Jonathan. Okay. So that fourth question is, what am I most grateful for? I think you should be grateful that he is giving you an opportunity to do this. If you want to take sovereignty over your life, self-love isn't about manicures and pedicures. Self-love is about self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-discipline. But most importantly, we all have a little 6-year-old inside of us. The reason why you want him back is the little 6-year-old girl inside of you says, Mommy, Daddy, please love me. I didn't get any, you abandoned me. You rejected me. You said mean things to me. You said no to me 1,000 times. And my self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-confidence is shot. And so self-love is doing the inner work. He came into your life to open you up, not to be in romantic relationship with him so you can decide to choose yourself. For the last 25 years, you've been living in existence, but you're here to have this conversation right now with me. And my encouragement for you is to step into your sovereignty, to step into your power, to step into that place of going, I'm going to love myself. And yes, I appreciate that you watch my YouTube videos. I appreciate that immensely, but I want you to get, and I'm not selling my book. And by the way, there's a link below to get a copy of my book, but here's what I want you to do. At the end of my book is recommended reading, studies, teachers, and workshops. I'm inviting you to simply invest as much time as you possibly can into yourself. So whenever you're thinking of him, this is what you say: blah, 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 blah. Like, do a pattern interrupt. And then I'm going to teach you something else right now. By the way, I'm speaking very fast because I'm passionate about wanting to get through to you. Okay. I'm hoping that you actually take this from a, like a preacher sharing from the sermon kind of thing. I want to take this in. I want someone to write this in the chat box or in the show notes. It's called the Hawaiian Forgiveness Prayer, the Hawaiian Forgiveness Prayer. It's also known as the Ho'oponopono, I believe, if I said it properly, the Hawaiian term. It's just a few words. Now, the version I learned goes like this. It's simply saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now, I think the other version is, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Or thank you. I love you. I learned that version because I want to start. By the way, this is forgiveness within self. I say this to myself. I'm going to share with you something, Terry. I say this to myself a dozen times a day. Whenever I feel, here, R.M. Bells wrote it down, or wrote this Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Okay. I think the original is, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I start with I love you because it's a reminder to love self. Okay. This is all about redirecting in self. It's not about forgiving him. It's about forgiving our parts of us that are scared. And the reason why we do this is it's a pattern interrupt. It's about getting out of that attachment with him. And anytime you think about him, you can just say this to pattern interrupt. And sometimes I say it 100 times in a row. I swear to God, I do that. I'll say it 100 times in a row, just a pattern interrupt. Okay. If you break the pattern enough times, it'll go from an obsessive attachment to a level of like, and by the way, that woman I spoke of, it's a year and a half later, she popped in my head this morning. Okay. And you know what I said? I am so grateful for the experience. You know what? Gratitude is a powerful force, but the reason why he came into your life was not to be this physical connection or some romance or anything like that. It's to wake you. It's so you could have this very conversation right now to encourage you to take charge of your life, to be empowered. That's what you would tell as a social worker. If a young woman came to you with the same story, that you would say, I want you to be empowered in your life. I want you to take charge of your life. I want you to be in your sovereignty. And you're going to do that through a series of personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and therapy to get there. Now, I know the little kid inside of you, but Jonathan, I just want him to change. I just want him to love me. What can I do? What can I say? Oh my God, if I just had some closure with him, it's going to magically change everything. Look at.
I think if he's just meaner to me, but I know that I need to, I do know those things that you're saying. And I've thought about that. Why did he come into my life? What did I learn from it? What did I learn from it? And I need to just keep thinking that and saying that. What they wrote down, I'm glad that they did, because I will go over that and over that. Because if I didn't want it to end, I don't think I would have checked in with you.
You know, here's the thing. Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that, but you got to take ownership, babe. You went in for egoic, selfish, superficial reasons. You went into this. Now, I understand why you did that, because you want connection. You're thirsty for connection. But let me tell you something. You know, I'm not biblical, but I'm just going to say you went in with devilish intentions, and you got the end result of that. Okay. You didn't go in with altruistic intentions, and you had this, well, if I just give him sex, or if I just give him flirtation and pleasure, I can turn him into a relationship. Well, guess what? That bit you in the ass, sweetheart. That doesn't work. I mean, yes, it works.
It did bite me in the ass. It did. And thank you.
Well,
I think I can do this. I think
I used to call this the hot seat. This is the love seat. I hope you know I'm coming with you with a lot of care and love, and your big brother protector, but I'm also slapping you upside the head with some tough love. Choose yourself, Terry. Choose yourself. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can I give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of appreciation?
Yes. And one right back to you. Right back at you.
Thanks a lot, Terry.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Terry was brave to come on the love seat and share something very challenging. In particular is, I kind of scolded her, saying that she went in for superficial reasons, egoic reasons. And listen, as I said at the end, it's understandable. We want connection. We want connection thirst so much. And we oftentimes believe that sexual connection will get a guy to commit to us. Well, let me tell you something. It bit her in the butt. Okay. But as we went through what I'm inviting her to do, why this relationship came into her life, how she can get over this person, she had the answers within herself. She had the answers within herself. She had the answers within herself. Now she's got to listen to it. Now, I suggested the real reason why this happened. I'm more of a spiritual person looking at it from that vantage point. Whether what I shared was true or not, I do believe that, the reason why she had this guy in her life is so I could talk to her and hopefully encouraged her to take personal responsibility for her life. But most importantly, to love that little 6-year-old inside of her with a lot of self-love. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Please share with me what you thought about this conversation. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos as well. Also, if you want to connect with me, if you just simply want to talk, schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Get all the books I recommend. Donate to the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund before you log off by hitting that super thanks, okay? And donate some money there. And listen, really quickly, Linda says, Terry has a beautiful heart. She deserves love. That will go all in. Terry, read Jonathan's book. Thank you, Lindy. I appreciate it. Johika wants to remind Terry, there's a point that you need to open your real self, have self-respect, not matter how much you feel about what you need a man for. I totally agree with that. By the way, I butcher the English language sometimes. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Oh, I want to thank Joe Hika and RN Linz and Pauline and Linda and RM Bells. And certainly I want to thank Patty for the $10 super sticker earlier. Ronette says, Jonathan, you nailed it. We all have the answers within ourselves. What positive things did I learn in this relationship? Has any of this experience helped me heal my childhood wounds? What am I grateful for? What was good about this experience? Exactly. Thanks so much, Ronette. Wishing you all a super duper wonderful evening. Be well, or day, whatever. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.